Okay, everybody, let's go. This video is going to tell you three surprising things I learned campaigning in 2025 of all years to campaign. Okay, so I'm Dr. Mary Renzel. I ran for a local council position in my village, as I say, and won. So let's go over. What did I learn? What are the surprising things? Number one, folks are still kind. People are still kind. There's a lot of kindness out there. Okay, number one. Number two, when you take an action, you bring other people hope. Okay, we're going to go over that a little bit. Number three, ready? When you do something that is meaningful to you, you're willing to spend your time, right? Okay, the lighting's getting really funny, but that's because the sun just came out. So this is the sun over here. That's okay. We love some sunshine, right? Zoom is trying to catch up to the light. There it goes. Okay, it did it. Okay, it was the sun coming out of the clouds, ruined our light a little bit. It's all good. Okay, so three things. Let's go. Okay, if you stay to the end, you're going to get even more surprises, right? So, campaigning, what does that look like? You got to knock on doors. We opened a YouTube channel. We shared some information why we're doing this. We went to farmers markets. We talked to people as they walk around our little town. And yes, we would reach out to strangers and just stop them on the street. And I would put stuff in the newspaper part of your mailbox. Put yes if you have that in the comments here. If you even have a newspaper box anymore, not many people do. So there's not many mailboxes you can put anything in because not many people have newspaper boxes anymore, but they're very helpful for campaigning. Okay, so kindness. I would say knocking on doors. There's always the ring. You could talk to the ring because a lot of people won't answer the door, right? But yet some people would, and they'll say like, "Oh, everything's fine. I think everything's fine here." It's like, "Okay, are you aware of this and this and this?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, that does seem like it's important." Okay, well, who's taking care of things is always the major question. Who has their eye on the ball? Who's looking under the hood on how things are going? And everything may be going great. Your town may be really well run. It's like thinking of running a small business, right? There's multiple moving parts. Somebody has to organize it. You want it to be successful, right? And if you don't have enough money, it can't really exist in the same way. Things will have to change. So it is a small business in that sense, a little town. And so when we would knock on doors and we say, "What do you think? How are things going for you?" Some people right away would have certain issues that were really important to them. But I will tell you, like, there's kindness out there. People would invite us in. One lady had her hair up in a towel, she just got out of the shower, like, "Come on in, have a cup of tea." So it's really like old timey that people are still like kind. Or if they're working on their leaves in their yard or something, they would stop and talk. Or I'd say, "I'm running for council. I just want to say hi." And like, oh, they're like, "Good luck. What's your name?" So that kind of thing. So, a lot of interactions, I would say 98%, like very kind, which is really great, right? So when we assume on social media that everyone is that way of the loud voices on social media, I would say my experience is that that's not true. I ran for a position in Ohio, outside of Cleveland, Ohio. And so Midwest, we tend to be nice. We tend to get things done. We tend to be neighborly, but also kind of private. And so, it's that combination of things, so every, area of the country has its own culture that tends to be our Midwest culture. We're neighborly, but we're also kind of private. A lot of people didn't want to put any signs in their yard. They never had put signs in their yard. They just don't want to call attention to whatever their political beliefs are, even though my position was a nonpartisan position. So one of my neighbors who's 70 something put a sign up for the first time in her whole life. So it was really amazing. And the other kindness is that people were willing to write letters to the editor for me in support of my campaigning, which is a pain, right? Like they had to sit down and take time to do that and submit it. And, that's a pain. It takes their time and their focus, but they did it out of the kindness. And the other cool thing is the reconnecting. So under the kindness is like I got to reach out to friends I hadn't talked with or neighbors I haven't seen in a long time and just reconnect and check in on their families. How are they doing? And, I'm in a new stage of life, an empty nest stage. And so we could just see how's that going for them too, because a lot of people in my life stage are in that stage where the kids are generally gone out of the household. Not always, some have come back. There's always kind of different issues. But it was just neat to reconnect with people. And then, a lot of people just had a high level of gratitude for the town. And that is what got me started thinking about running, is that I have a lot of gratitude for this wonderful park that you may have seen me make videos in, that I can walk to from my house. That's why it's like over there. Um, it's very close to me, so I can walk through my neighborhood with my dog. I don't have to get in the car. And it's lovely. And somebody saved that land and worked with the land conservancy and kept it from, it being 100 houses. And so I'm grateful. I know we need houses. It's also really nice to preserve the land for a lot of reasons, to keep nature intact, right? Okay, so number one, kindness. It's still there, guys. It really is. It's still there. Sometimes we have to make an effort to go out and see how people are, and they reciprocate that kindness, as long as you're doing it for the right reason. And then I will tell you one thing, when you try something, it gives people hope. So just me running, people like, oh, it gives me hope that you would take your time to do this, that you would think about helping the community. It gives them a little spark, like something's okay. It kind of spreads that hope or that kindness, the sense of possibility, and I think then it also helps them see themselves like maybe they could do something. So there is something when you reach out and do something out of your comfort zone, and you tell people you're learning something, or you're supporting someone, or you're doing something new. It gives people some hope that things could be a little bit different, so you want to think about that. When you take a risk and an action, you might encourage someone else. You might get them thinking about it, maybe not at that minute, but they're thinking like, I could do something as well. I could take a step. I could serve on a committee. I could help a nonprofit. I could go into politics myself. I could encourage someone else to go into politics, so it's not such a wall. It's like an open invitation. Come on, let's support our community in any way that you see fit, because we're all assuming that someone's got this, right? Like, look at us nationally, statewide, locally. Who's got this? Who's working on this? As Kennedy said, if not you, who? Like, who should be working on this? Or at least keeping an eye on what's going on, so that you can give your 2 cents, what you think is important in your community, in your state, in your nation. We might just step back and think, this is not my area I'm not an expert. I'm not going to comment on this, but maybe we all have to, be careful that we're not sitting back assuming someone's got this. And it could be someone does have it. Someone's doing a great job. They're really keeping an eye on things, and things are going really well. That is possible, right? But it's good just to know. Because when you think like your community is a small business and you're part of it, it's kind of like one big HOA, right? So your money is invested in there. So you want your community to thrive for a lot of reasons. If you want to just say money, fine, or your well-being, your safety, like all of that comes from your local community. And so it's important to know kind of what is going on and who's doing what, and maybe attend a meeting here and there, read the paper or the online, like what's going on in your community? What are the latest issues right now? So just being aware can lead to some hope that things can be different, and also you taking an action, doing something new, learning, reaching out to someone, letting them know what you're doing, seeing if they want to join you on this journey. That can give them hope, which is very interesting, because then that spreads, right? So you could just be like the pebble in the pond, you put something in, then the reflections go. Your yes might encourage someone else to do something. Yeah. Okay. So the willingness to open a door or look under the hood, what is going on, could bring hope to someone else so they do the same. It could spread action, hope and action, right? So it does take time to learn, and learning brings hope. Learning brings emotions. Learning is uncomfortable. Being new at something brings up emotions. You just never know how it's going to feel. It's not always going to feel good learning. Remember school? It didn't always feel good. Anyone still in school? There's feelings with when you're new at something. So a lot of people like, I don't want all those feelings. That's a lot, and I don't want it. So it's possible you could say that, but maybe you say like, I'm gonna try something new. I'm gonna, learn a little bit about it each day, or once a week or on Saturdays, I'm going to take an hour and just read about something new or try something new. If we really want to learn, we physically usually have to take an action. Reading is fine, but doing really solidifies all that learning, right? So then, with hope and to spread that hope around or to feel hope yourself, usually taking an action then brings emotion. So you want to make sure we're not just thinking, sitting, thinking only in your head, like also take an action towards something that is important to you. So that's the third thing is what is important to you now? If you don't know, then take some time, get out a pen, piece of paper, 15 minutes each day. What is important? This is what's important to me. Just start writing. Just see what comes out of your brain. Your subconscious might leak in there. You might learn, just every day. If you're not a big writer, just write. Every day you just set the clock, 15 minutes. Right. This is what's important to me. And then you might say, like, oh, I could take an action in this area. So once you find what's meaningful to you, then you can take an action in that area. Okay. So when something is meaningful to us, we're willing to put our time toward it. Right. So that's the other third surprising thing about campaigning is I could find the time to do it because it was important to me, because I was grateful for my community. Then I started looking under the hood. It was like, oh, I could be part of solutions. And it gave me hope and encouragement to meet all my kind neighbors who also told me what's important to them. Right. That's the other surprising thing is that we support each other in our growth and we can boost each other along on that growth journey when all those emotions come up. Like, should I do this? Yeah, can I do this? Who's going to help me? Like all those kind of questions about uncertainties. There's always uncertainties, but what is certain? What is certain is what's important to you. And if you're not sure, again, just do those writing exercises, 15 minutes every day until it's really clear right now what is important to you. Now, what might give you a peek there on what's important to you is what are you mad about? What do you think like that status quo should not be? I want to change this. I want to be part of change. This status quo is not okay with me. Then, when I've learned that when we feel anger, there was another emotion first and then anger. Emotion, then anger. So anger is what's called a secondary emotion. So there's another emotion, then anger. Why? Well, it's usually something value-based over here. Something crossed one of your important values, something important to you. And what's important to me? Safety, health, learning, innovation. So if I see those things not happening, that makes me mad. Like, why are we doing it this way? We got to change this. Let's get going on this. So you want to think, you need to know your values. This is what I coach women docs who feel stuck, who feel angry, who feel like there's just not a place for them anymore, or they want more flexibility. They want more fun in their life. They want more joy. They want more meaning. So I coach women docs one-on-one on this. And so we spend a lot of time, it actually doesn't take a lot of time. We spend time figuring out the core values. That's really important to do early because those drive our behaviors. What's important to us now, and that might change depending on what's going on in your life. You might say like innovation, health, education is really important. And then you might have a family member going through a certain something. You say, oh, this is what's important to me right now. I want to find more resources, solutions for this issue. And so you see a lot of people start a nonprofit after something, horrible happens in the family. There's a death, there's a disease, there's a genetic condition. And then people start putting their time and energy toward trying to solve that, of course, right? To find more resources because that is what is important to them now. So that may change. Your core values may change over time. And so, you want to know that. And that's what we do in my coaching. I coach women docs. And it's just wonderful to watch people kind of light up, like come to life, like, oh, this is what's important. Makes so much sense. I had someone in my office the other day just frustrated, a women doc. She's so frustrated that she can't make the change she wants to make. And it's hard. It's hard to make change, right? It's a slow process. Someone said it's like personal hygiene. You got to do a little bit every day, or you can go backwards. It's kind of like lifting weights. You can get stronger, stronger, stronger till you sit back and don't go for a couple weeks. I might know this. Then you try to go back to what you were doing. And it's hard. Muscles need constant building. Change needs constant building, just like personal hygiene needs constant attention, right? Or it will just reverse. So, number one, you find, excuse me, you find out what's important to you at this time. Take some time to figure out your core values. What are you willing to spend your time on? And then you might want to look at your phone. How much screen time do you have? Is it 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, 5 hours a day? How much are you on your phone? One time I checked my phone and I had texted for an hour and a half that day. And it was not like a special day. Like I can't even believe it. Like who am I texting for an hour and a half? But like all day long for 24 hours, all the texts I sent, it added up to an hour and a half. Well, I could get that time back somewhere if I just talk to people, work things out, and not all this text back and forth, and only address things that are important to me, my priorities. That's what I put in my days, not somebody else's priorities, right? So, we also might want to think like, are we busy or are we just putting our time towards something that's not important to us? So that's why it's important to find out your core values, find out what's important to you. The other thing I coach on is a 3 bucket goal system. I just think of 3 things, baskets, buckets, whatever you want to say. Every time somebody asks you to do something, does it fit in one of those buckets? Right now, I'm big on skill building, community building, and impact. So if it doesn't go in one of those 3, I'm going to say no. It's just not important to me right now. Right. So at one time, my husband's Yaya, so they're Greek, so we call her Big Yaya. So my kid's great Yaya. She when our first child was 2, she said, "How's it going?" I was like, "Oh, it's busy. It's really busy." I was a doctor, young doctor, new mom of a 2-year-old. And she said, "You think you're busy? We had to sew our own clothes, go to the market every day, cook all our own food. There's no prepared foods." They weren't necessarily working, but I think her husband died young. I can't remember when, and she was making her family, where it was along her family. So she was a single mom for a lot of years and working. So I was like, okay, okay. I always think of that conversation like what I think is busy, what someone else is doing, everybody has the same 24 hours, right? So we just have to make of those 24 hours what's important to us. We don't let other people steal our 24 hours. We drive that, right? And then, the importance of connections was reinforced during my campaign. It's really important to know who's in your community, who's happy, who's aligned with you, who's willing to work on things, what's, important to them because maybe they'll be on committees and get things moving, so get a little activity, a little momentum in the community so people are willing to put their time and effort toward what's important. And again, I don't want to assume that somebody's got this, right? And I think it's just like what JFK said, is if not you, who? Whose job is it to take care of your little town, your state, our nation? Whose job is it? So we have to say, can we be a part of it in any way? Can you be a part of, calling your representative, your senator? Can you be a part of attending a meeting, a local meeting, and just see what's going on in your county? In your party, if you want to say just in your party, you go to the county meetings, so what's going on? What are their priorities right now? Does it align with what's important to you? So politics, the 3 surprising things in my local campaign that I did end up winning. So thank you to my village. Is that kindness prevailed, hope can be kindled by your actions. You can actually kindle someone else's hope, and your actions can kindle your own hope. And meaning can make things possible. So we have to know what's important to us, what is meaningful to us now to create a new possibility. Change is a given, things will always be changing. So we can navigate this with kindness, hope, and meaning. Okay. So let me know. Have you seen anyone run a really interesting campaign? Did you run a campaign? Put it in the comments. Do you think politics are bad? I had to kind of erase the word politics when I was doing this and think like advocating. I'm advocating for my community. There's so much heavy negative thoughts on politics. If people do it for the money, they do it for the power, they do it for what have you. But I watched a great TED Talk from a mayor. She was a young mom, and she, really talked about advocating for her community as a politician, and doing it and all the reasons that she did it. So everybody has their own reasons, what's meaningful to them. I love to grow, build skills, and build connection. Those are my favorite things. So let me know your thoughts. What campaign did you see go well? Who did you see campaign well? Any great campaign ideas we could share? And any local politicians you want to share, just let me know what they did that you appreciate about them. If they brought hope to your community, I would love to hear it. Thanks for watching, guys. And subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button. I love to talk about how neuroscience can help further people. I love to share the neuroscience, even of campaigning, because neuroscience is the study of the brain and how we connect with other humans using our own neuroscience. And connection is important, kindness is important, hope is important, and meaning keeps our brain focused and spending attention toward what is important to us and willing to spend our own energy, right? So it's all neuroscience is the base of all this. That's my bias. I have a strong neuroscience bias. All right, so hit like and subscribe, please, and reach out with your questions. You got this.